Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegran, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Grand Group with Edina Realty, 3-time Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' 3-game series against the Colorado Rockies. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson, special treat in studio all the way from Spokane. Dan and I have got to spend some time together today. Great series from the Twins. They win 2 out of 3. Maybe not great. The first one wasn't so fantastic. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Dan, so happy to have you in studio.
I get so nostalgic coming back to Minneapolis. We're in Northeast. I get to go to Dangerous Man Brewing, right? I get to go to a Twins game with my entire family. David, we brought the entire brood. It was great. It was a beautiful day. Has summer been this lovely all year?
It got a little hot. And then it got a little cool, and then it got just right.
Well, it felt great. It was a great game. It was fun to watch Game 3. The Twins win this series against the Rockies 2-1 after losing the opener, and I just felt like it was a fantastic day. This is a great way to end the day, David.
Quite wonderful. With that, Dan, let's go ahead and jump right into the series recap.
Series recap.
David, I'm going to be honest. So I was driving during Game 1, so I listened to Game 1, and it was so disappointing to lose a game to the Rockies 1-0. How does that happen?
Yeah, this is a rough one. It's interesting because the Twins' offensive struggles seem to be coming in batches, right? Like it's rarely just one person on the team. It's like if the team is going to perform at this level from an offensive perspective, the whole team falls into that gap.
Buxton didn't start in the Game 1. He does come in and pinch hit later, which to your point earlier in the season, like you've been calling for Buxton to do more of this pinch hitting. Doesn't matter. I do though wonder if Buxton played the whole game. Is this different?
It could be. It very well could be. Buxton has such an impact at the plate and on the base paths. If he gets on base, anything's possible. And again, a 1-0 game. So obviously a 1-0 game, that means we have to talk about the pitching performances. Bundy goes 6 innings pitched, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, only the 1 earned run. Then Duffy goes 2 innings, followed by Thornberg coming in, who Thornberg I think might come into play a little bit later in this podcast, Dan. But a great pitching performance. You can't blame either the starters or the bullpen on this loss.
No, and you look at this Rockies lineup, and it's pretty clear they have bats that can hit. Blackman has been a batting champion in the National League. CJ Cron, who Twins fans know well, is having a career season or 2 here now with the Rockies. Don't understand, though, how can you not muster 1 run against this team? Arise gets on base a couple times with some walks. Correa gets a hit. Kepler gets a hit, but they just can't string them together enough to get that 1 run to tie the game.
Yeah, the only real play of note from the Twins' perspective was a great catch by Kepler that really kept the Twins close as they were. But again, all for naught. If you can't score any runs, it doesn't matter how great you play in the field.
No, you only have 3 opportunities with runners in scoring position. You leave 6 guys on base. It's one of those quick games, too. This is a 2-hour and 17-minute baseball game. Gosh, doesn't Rocco shift into the mode of how do we manufacture a run to win this game, at least to get it tied and send it to extra innings?
Well, and for you, Dan, you were hoping this one would be longer because you wanted more to listen to in the car.
I did. But Game 2, luckily, if we can move to that, was much better here. The Twins win this one 6-0. A combined 1-hitter by this Twin staff that also walked 5 batters. But they do win this game 6-0. They get off to a quick start with a couple runs, and then they just keep adding to it throughout the game.
Yeah, this was a fantastic performance by a few people who you might not have expected. Sanchez goes 2 for 4. Garlick goes 2 for 4. And then Arise. If you're not expecting Arise to be great, you haven't been watching the team this year.
Well, he had actually been in a bit of a snide. I think it was an 0 for 11 snide before this game, but he comes through with a couple hits. He scores a run. He knocks in a run. Also, Alex Kirilloff, your guy, I believe, had a big hit and 3 RBI. Gary Sanchez gets part of it. The Twins, all in all, go 4 for 14 with runners in scoring position. So it wasn't like this game was ever really all that close.
No, well, and real quick about Arise, you said 0 for 11, but in Arise 0 for 11, he had like 30 walks in that time. Like, it's not like he was totally unproductive at the plate.
Speaking of walks, too, Max Kepler had 3 in this game. His plate discipline this season has been really impressive. he has turned it around in a way that I only hoped Miguel Sano was going to turn it around this season. But it turns out Max Kepler is the guy.
That's the first Sano reference we've had in quite some time on the podcast, folks. But so this one, we do have to give credit to the pitching staff as well. Archer goes 5 innings pitched, the elusive 5-inning start out of Chris Archer. 5 innings pitched, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Then the rest of the bullpen comes in, cleans it up. Cotton goes an inning, Jax goes an inning, and Thornberg pitches 2 innings, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. But the Twins shut it down, like you said, Dan, a 1-hitter.
This was a series where the Twins were in a lot of jams, really, as pitchers, and they were able to wiggle their way out of them. As much as I don't think this game was really in doubt, I think the Twins had so many opportunities. You got to think the Twins are going to win this game. At the same time, the fielding and the pitching really came up in clutch situations.
Yeah, I mean, the Rockies, they had 7 opportunities with runners in scoring position. So like you said, there were certainly opportunities for the Rockies to come back swinging.
And it's felt like CJ Cron was not a factor in this series. And when you can keep the best hitter on a team to a non-factor, you're going to win a lot of series.
Buxton with a triple in this one. That knee certainly looked healthy on that play, Dan.
When he rests, he must really rest, because he comes out, and for a guy who's had his knee on ice for the last couple days, I am so impressed with his ability to just come back and have, you don't just like leg out a triple, right? Like you have to be really trying to get a triple, and he had 2 of them in this series. And did you see the fact about Ken Hrbek?
No.
So the first triple in this series tied him all time on the Twins triples list with Kent Hrbek, with I think it was 18 at the time, which tells you how long Kent Hrbek was with the Twins, and much leaner apparently than we gave Kent Hrbek credit.
Yeah, I'm just like, are you sure you got the name right there?
That's what Gleeman's tweet was. Luckily, that tie is no longer, because in Game 3, Buxton had another triple. He moved ahead of him.
Yeah, well, with that, let's move into Game 3. Twins win this one 6-3. Another great offensive performance. And this one, Dan, I got to be honest with you, the pitching performances weren't great. There was a lot of traffic on the base paths, but just one of those things where they managed to work through it.
I am stunned. This figure, the Rockies were 2 for 16 with runners in scoring position, 11 runners left on base, and a lot of those were left on base with like 1 out, no outs. I mean, they had the bases loaded a couple times. I just like, if I'm a Rockies fan and there were some of them sitting in front of us, I'm pulling my hair out for this game.
It's got to be absolutely nuts. So Ryan, making his 3rd start back from the COVID list, goes 5 innings pitched. Kind of shocking that he got through 5, because he was at like 30 after the first inning. But so he throws 102 pitches, gets through 5 innings, 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, 1 home run given up. But credit to Ryan for working through it. Only giving up 3 runs. Again, I don't love that 5 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, but in this particular instant, I don't mind it just because of how hard he had to work to get through those 5 innings.
And the fact that he threw 102 pitches in this game tells me that Rocco has huge amounts of faith in Joe Ryan as one of the best pitchers on this staff to just muscle through this, because he got hit a lot there. 8 hits is a lot of hits in 5 innings. Like you said, a lot of traffic on the bases. So glad he ends up getting the win. The bullpen is shaky, but does the job from there. I know we're going to talk about Caleb Thielbar a little bit later. It's like he wanted to make his job harder and load the bases with nobody out.
Just nuts. It was crazy, because I really thought we'd lose this game. I thought the Twins would lose this game because there were too many opportunities given for guys who, from the bullpen, haven't performed well when they've gotten under pressure and when they've gotten hit. And again, it's hard to blame Rocco, because who else are you going to have pitch, right? Like Hogs made that point last episode, that you can make fun of Rocco all you want or second guess his decision making, but when you don't have places to turn, how can you really blame him?
No, and you look, Tyler Duffy came in later. He also had his own issues, a couple of hits and a walk. He did get out of trouble. Tyler Duffy has lowered his ERA to 5.04, which it was up in the 6s or the 7s. I mean, so that was good. And then Durant came in and really looked like a closer today.
Yeah, he's starting to look more of that part. There was a great article on The Athletic talking about how Durant has really sort of carried this bullpen, and the stats would be considerably worse if he wasn't there to bring those numbers down for the bullpen.
His ERA is down to 2.18. And when you got a guy throwing 103 miles an hour, sometimes, if he can throw that pitch with any accuracy, you talked about this a couple episodes ago, he does need to have another pitch. He's got a splitter that has a little bit of movement on it. But gosh, 103 in the zone, if you can hit the corners, there's not a lot of guys who can hit that ball.
They can't even swing fast enough, Dan. It's just impossible.
No, so this was a fun game. Again, all in all, so fun to be back at Target Field. Sat in left field, David, your recommendation again. And I gotta tell you, those seats in the left field bleachers for $25, you can't beat that.
Can't beat it. It's the best views in the stadium, especially if you're in 131 and you sit on the aisle seat closest to the bullpen. You have a pretty good view of home plate. I love those seats, especially for the cost, like you said.
And you've got an opportunity between every inning for a guy to throw a ball to one of your kids.
Yes.
I gotta say, though, I'm a little annoyed when they throw it and like a dude bro gets it.
Yeah.
David, come
man.
on. There's enough kids sitting in that section. If you're a dude bro out there, give the ball to a kid.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We haven't ragged on dude bros almost at all this season, Dan.
It's because I haven't been to Target Field. But every time I go to Target Field, it's like I see all the dude bros and I think, come on, you gotta have kids someday here, right?
Oh, one day they'll wise up. Okay, well let's push here, unfortunately, into the Puckett's Picks winner segment.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
So David, I'm kind of doing the math in my head as I go here. I was worried about Kirilloff here. I wasn't rooting against Kirilloff exactly, but there were moments when he hit a deep fly ball to right, and I'm thinking, I think the Twins can win without a home run here.
Disappointing. So anyway, folks, Dan took a rise off the board. He scored 8 points. Hogs had the listener pick, and he took Correa, who only scored 2. I had Kirilloff, who had 6. So that does give Dan the victory in Puckett's Picks, pushes him to 7 wins on the season. The listeners have 6 wins, and I'm still atop the leaderboard with 10.
Hogs pointed out that a rise is good for what, like 6 or 7 or 8 points?
8, I think is what he said, yeah.
And that was exactly the number. It was the perfect amount. There's a lot of good reason to pick a guy who's going to always get you 6, 7, or 8 points.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that, Dan, let's move to Beast versus Bench.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
David, with my Beast, I had to go with Byron Buxton. And this is a little bit of recency bias because I just watched him have a fantastic Game 3 where he gets on base every time. He's a home run short of the cycle, which I was having this conversation with somebody else. If there's a guy on the Twins who should have a cycle, who I don't think does, I don't think Byron Buxton has a cycle in his career. I mean, that's got to happen one of these days, right?
Oh, absolutely. If he stays on the field and he's healthy, there's a lot of records that he's going to be coming after, Dan.
So, again, looks healthy, hitting triples. I feel a little pressure if I'm Luis Ariz ahead of him. You don't want to be the guy who can't get to home plate in time for Buxton to reach third on a triple, which happened a couple times in this series. It happened only once, I guess, in this series technically.
Well, and it's all that offseason work he put in with Nelson Cruz to drop those pounds, Dan.
Fantastic. Nelson Cruz, are they going to put his name up on the wall? Are they going to retire Nelson Cruz's number at some point?
He played in seasons that nobody will remember a few seasons from now, but yes, we're going to retire Nelson Cruz. Twins Hall of Famer, definitely, Dan.
Who do you got as your Beast?
Just for parity's sake, I'm going to give it to Kepler. I thought he had a very good series. Again, you mentioned the 3 walks that he had. In Game 1, he only went 1 for 4 with a strikeout, but Game 2 was the 3 walks. But then Game 3 goes 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. So clearly, again, Kepler is learning how to hit to the opposite field, and there are going to be some growing pains there. But clearly, he's figuring some things out. His plate discipline is getting better. I do think he can get back to the caliber that we thought he really belonged at in 2019.
The way that he's able to hit lefties now, too, or just have at least quality at bats against lefties is making him even such a better hitter. I look at this lineup today. I mean, you got Ariz, Buxton, Correa, and Kepler. I kind of like Kepler in that 4 spot with an OPS of 749 and with his propensity to actually get some walks.
Gut check, Dan. Kepler or Sano if you have to take one of them.
What was my prediction? I think I predicted Sano would have 41 home runs.
41 homers, yeah.
I don't think he's going to reach that point. I think Kepler's going to be a little bit better than that by the end of the year. So I guess now at this point, I have to take Max Kepler.
Oh.
Hate to say it, but
how your love has diminished for Miguel Sano, Dan. You are quite fickle, my friend.
By the way, another stat, Alex Kirilloff doesn't have a major league home run yet this season. Isn't that surprising?
Not really, because he hasn't been up all that much when his wrist has actually been working correctly.
I know, but as good as he's played since he's been back, just I'm waiting for that next home run from Alex Kirilloff.
It's coming. It is certainly on the horizon.
All right, let's go on to our bench, David. Who do you got?
Yes, I got to give it to Nick Gordon. I'm getting less and less impressed with Nick Gordon. And with all the different options that we have, it doesn't help now that we had Larnach go onto the IL, because that's basically given Gordon more time in left field, certainly. But he went 1 for 11 in this game. I get that he's not supposed to be an everyday player, but then why is he in the lineup every day, Dan? I don't understand. That seems counterintuitive to me a little bit.
Positional flexibility.
Yeah, well, that's
David.
what I'm saying. So it bothers me that he's not an everyday player at any one given position, but he just happens to be an everyday player because he can play at multiple positions.
He hit a home run last series that was like one of these rare things out of the 9 spot. The radio guys had a long time talking about. He was like one of 2 Twins players in a 1-0 game, batting 9th to hit a home run, David. It's that kind of thing that keeps Nick Gordon on the roster.
You seem to be so defensive about Nick Gordon. I didn't know you had this love for him.
Well, it's more because, why are you ragging on a guy who is, he's done everything the Twins have asked. He's played catcher, it feels like, out there some of these times. He's played almost every position for this team. He is much better than the Turtle as a player, but just as flexible. Positionally flexible is what I'm saying.
You've mentioned Sano. You've mentioned the turtle. I'm waiting on the Rosario reference. I'm sure it's coming, Dan.
I will find a way, David. I'm going to put Urshela on my bench. He did have one hit and an RBI in this game, but in game 2, he was 0 for 3. In game 1, he was 0 for 4 in that cleanup spot where they really could have used him. I mean, he left 3 guys on base. Urshela has had some big hits for this team, right? He was great in the Cleveland series where he hit that home run that didn't matter in the end. I just thought he was in bigger spots in this series, more high leverage spots than Gordon. That's why I picked him.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's keep going, Dan. Rocco's Rewind.
Rocco's Rewind.
All right, so David, Chris Archer, or rather the handling of Chris Archer, has I think been a bit of a topic among Twins followers over the course of the season, right? Because Chris Archer famously does not go past maybe not even the 4th inning sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So I will give you this tweet from Aaron Gleeman. He said this: Chris Archer, who threw a total of just 19 innings the previous 2 seasons and hasn't had an ERA under 4 since 2015, now has a 3.14 ERA through 14 starts for the Twins. I don't think he's missed a start. I just think the criticisms of Chris Archer are unfair, considering what the Twins knew they were trying to get when they got Chris Archer. They weren't trying to get a pitcher who was going to pitch 6-7 innings off the bat. They may not even ever get 6-7 innings out of him. But the fact that you have a starting pitcher who's averaging 4 or 5 innings a game and his ERA is 3.14, I love that. What a great management of a tricky situation that could have been nothing.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting that he is still giving him that sort of true starter role, even though he's not technically a true starter, because is it really a true starter if the guy's never going to get to the point where he's getting a decision consistently?
Well, he has 5 decisions, but only 2 wins. I haven't looked at it, but I'm sure that there are games that the Twins have won when he started, but he didn't go 5.
Yeah.
So he's 2-3 on the season. But again, a 3.14 ERA. He had 5 strikeouts, just 1 walk, 1 hit in. We didn't even really go into this. I mean, it was a 1-hitter that the Twins combined for in game 2 with 5 walks. I just think Chris Archer and the handling of him, I think there's some credit that goes to Rocco here.
Yes, doing the best with what he's given, certainly. Yeah, and I think that you're right. The criticisms that Chris Archer has received haven't been great, especially when you consider his recent history. It's just one of those things where as we get deeper into the season, we need to sort of cement a plan for him, knowing that he's only going to have 4 or 5 innings, especially with the way that the bullpen has struggled. Is it like we talked about, if Maeda comes back, are you sort of merging these people together, knowing that you can only have to use 2 arms for a start?
See, we talk about that merging of arms, and yet they never do that, David. So, I don't understand why they don't when they could have that situation. They need to listen, I think, a little bit more to our wisdom here, I think, because I think there would be a lot of problems solved there. The Twins would love, it seems like, to have 16 pitchers on this roster right now, and they just can't. But I do think Archer has a role as that 5th guy or that 4th guy, provided, Winder or Ober can step up too after Smeltzer and be that extra guy. But then there's Bundy. It's a weird glut of mediocrity after Ryan and after Sonny Gray.
Fair point.
What about you? What do you got?
Yeah, so my question is, we saw Thornberg in 2 games. We saw him in game 1, he pitched an inning. Game 2, he pitched 2 innings to close out the game. He seemed effective, right? It's tricky. He's a journeyman. He's been everywhere. He's never seen all-star level success. Are we going to start to see him more doing back-end bullpen work for Rocco?
That's a good question. I mean, maybe out of desperation?
Well, I'm just wondering, at what point do you give him a shot in a higher leverage role, seeing as the other guys have struggled? Obviously, this game 3 today is a little bit of an exception as of late, but sooner or later, you got to try something, right?
I think so, because again, we talked about how the bullpen kind of dodged trouble here in game 3. Thielbar was not great. Duffy was not great. Pagan is he was actually very good in this game, but he's very scary to, I guess, watch trot out from the bullpen. So maybe you might as well, if you're not going to use Thornberg for more than a couple of innings anyway, why not give him a high leverage spot one of these games and just see what he can do? Especially if you're needing an arm, why not use Thornberg?
Yeah, I think so. So I guess that's what I'm saying to Rocco. And I guess the fact that that's what we're talking about in Rocco's Rewind means that we don't have that many criticisms for Rocco for this series. There's not much else that he could have done.
No, I think other than trying to manufacture a run in game 1 when that felt like a game that was going to be close, and maybe just doing that more generally.
All right, with that, Dan, here, let's move on. Minnesota Moment.
Minnesota Moment.
David, so whenever I'm at a game, obviously, there's a little bit more of a bias towards those games. I'm paying attention to the nuance and stuff. But I thought the first inning of game 3, specifically the bottom of the first inning, when the Twins just put together a rally. Yeah. They're just hitting the ball hard. They're hitting it where guys aren't. And the fact that they were able to put up 3 runs after the Rockies had scored in the top of a rubber game, I thought was really important. They could have had a lot more than 3 runs there. I was waiting for the big home run that they got in that Diamondback series in the win down there, especially when Joe Ryan clearly didn't have his stuff. I just think that they were able to pour on a couple runs more in the second inning to give them a lead here when your starter needs some support. I thought it was a really big team victory here.
Mine is very much in a similar vein. Thielbar and Duffy both working out of jams in game 3 was huge. Because again, that whole time, Dan, I assumed the Twins were going to lose this game because the bullpen was going to fall apart. And both of them got in trouble. And not just like a guy on first trouble. Like a lot of trouble Thielbar and Duffy found themselves in, especially Thielbar. Thielbar getting out of that inning with a pop-up and then the bases loaded, the hit back to him. And then it was so funny. The ball gets hit back to Thielbar. So it's 1 out now. And Jeffers is at home screaming for the ball, but there's no force play because I don't think he realized that Thielbar caught it on the fly. I think he thought that Thielbar caught it off a hop.
Well, that was a strange whole play because then the Rockies batter at the time, he was mad that
he
Thielbar
was
caught
ticked.
it. He spiked the bat into the ground, not at a Twins player, but like in an obvious frustration. And I think it was that same inning. Then they get the force out on the grounder to Urshela. He plays it at home. And Nick Gordon like started to trot off the field. Like he thought there were 3 outs. It's like, no, Nick. Like, do you not know the situation here, Nick?
Well, that's not the first time. Contreras, after making a great catch in center, from the ground, chucks it in because he felt like he really needed to get the ball in after the 3rd out.
It was just like, come on, guys.
All right, well, let's keep going here. Dan Mauer's musings.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
David, I come back, I watch Carlos Correa, I see the championship culture he's brought to Target Field, which there have been great crowds, really, this whole week. I know that the weather has been good here, but I mean, there were 23, 24 plus every one of these games. The lines were super long at all the concession stands. Do you think Carlos Correa would accept, I don't even want to say a comparable market offer for like a 6-year deal? Would he take a little bit of a hometown discount to stay with the Twins?
Maybe, but even a hometown discount. So Gleeman was on Barrero the other day, and I'm driving home from work, and Gleeman like lays it out like this. He's like, do you realize how astronomical this deal will have to be for the Twins to sign him and how much bigger it will be than any contract the Twins have signed ever?
Any contract?
Like the Donaldson contract would be the closest thing. And that's not even close to what they're going to have to pay Carlos Correa. So in my heart, I want to believe that Carlos Correa just loves Dangerous Man Brewing and Indeed Brewing Company. And he loves the atmosphere that his kid is growing up in where you can be super nice to someone's face and then passive aggressively mean to them. He wants to stay in the Twin Cities, but my head says, Dan, there's a certain point where the number, when we're talking about additional millions, Carlos Correa is not going to be a Twin next season.
Okay, so but I'm gonna make this case. So I was talking to a friend who was at the game with me. The Twins have clearly avoided giving a ton of money to pitchers. Right, they don't believe in giving. This current regime doesn't believe in giving big contracts to pitchers. I think like Ricky Nolasco seemingly was like the biggest contract Twins have ever signed.
Look at bullpen as Exhibit A for lots of money spent on pitchers.
Well, and I get it. I get the logic because I think you're going to get a little better value out of hitters. But you can't have every deal like the Byron Buxton deal, where it's very team friendly, where it's basically if you play well, then you're going to get like baseball contracts don't work like that. Like you're paid for the first half of your contract most of the time. It feels like I just would love to see them lock down Correa. I don't know what that means to Royce Lewis. Royce is probably the one now in a cold sweat. Like, what's Correa going to do? Is he going to sign this contract? Do I need to get traded? Like, I don't know, but I would love to see Carlos Correa in this Twins lineup for a long time.
Maybe. It could, I mean, I guess anything's possible, right?
Anyway, that's a lot of music. What about you? What do we got?
We've had a couple of strange instances here in the last couple of series where either the pitching has really let us down or the hitting has really let us down. So game 1 in this series, obviously the offensive letdown, they couldn't get one run across. And then on the opposite side of things, the pitching really letting us down in games 1 and 2 last series against the Guardians. So my question to you, Dan, is do games lost by hitting or pitching annoy you more?
This is a great philosophical baseball question.
I know. It's not even really about the Twins. It's just kind of baseball in general, but it came to me and I really want to get your thoughts.
When a pitching staff blows a lead, that is harder for me because there's this assumption in my head that a bullpen guy should be able to hold a lead. Just naturally. Like that's the natural case. I wasn't as upset when the Twins lost 1-0. I was frustrated about it. Like they couldn't score the runs, but I also can't like point to a moment where in the same way where like, oh yeah, when that bullpen guy gives up a 3-run home run or something like that. So I think those are harder.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable take. So here's how I describe it, right? I'd say I am more angry when a bullpen gives up a lead, but I am more let down when the offense can't get a run across. So opening day this year, right, there was an opportunity with Gary Sanchez at the plate where he could win it with a home run.
I think Dick Bramer called a home run right off the bat, right?
I'm sure he did. Dick is calling a home run right now, Dan. He's at a restaurant ordering dinner, and he's calling a home run. The servers bring in food that he thinks is his, but is actually going to a different table, and he's getting real pumped about it. My goodness.
Is it like the sizzling fajita at Chili's? Like that's what he's waiting for?
That must be mine, and here he comes. No, but so anyway, what are we even talking about? But what I mean by that is that I'm less like upset that Sanchez didn't hit a home run, but just like, my heart is in my stomach when I see that ball drops on the warning track. And it's like, how close he came to winning a game here. So that's how I describe it.
Yeah, I was pretty let down when the Twins couldn't score one run in that Guardians game.
Exactly.
When it's 5-5 in the 10th inning. It's like, just get one run.
When you have a runner on second?
Oh,
yes.
My gosh. Yeah, you guys handled that well. I shouldn't get all worked up here. The Twins just won a series at least, so that's good.
All right, well, let's keep going, Dan. Time to grade the series.
Series grades.
Yeah, so I'm going to give them a B-, Dan Thompson. And the thing is, maybe I should even bump it to a B because they did well. It's just that first game, Dan. Score a run.
I went with a B because of the sunshine today. I think it just felt so good to be, but even if I'm ushering a child through all of these lines, most of the big innings early on, I don't actually think I was in my seat for the Twins scoring any runs today because I was buying frozen lemonade or buying mini donuts. It was still such a great atmosphere and experience. They won a series at home. I think at the end of the day, we could point to the third game and say the Rockies really kind of deserved to win that game for as much as they were able to get base runners on. So I'll call it a B.
Seems reasonable. Well, let's keep going, Dan. Herbie's headline.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
So, Dan Thompson, I am quite excited to talk about Herbie's headline for two reasons. First of all, we get to talk about Dan's beloved Yankees.
They're not my beloved Yankees. Even a guy today earlier was like, hey, are you guys going to start making this a Yankees podcast? No, this is not it.
This is great. So we're going to talk about Dan's beloved Yankees. The Yankees were no-hit by the Astros, Dan, which is, again, Dan loves no-hitters. He thinks that they should be celebrated more than anything else in baseball.
Like birthdays.
Yeah,
that should be great.
But so the Astros combined 3 pitchers it took them, Dan. A few walks here and there, but who cares? Walks don't really matter, Dan. It's all about the hits that really matter.
Right, because you can just avoid a 3-1 count by just walking the guy. Yeah, you don't have to throw a pitch down the middle. Come on.
Anyway, so I just wanted to mention, Dan, your beloved Yankees have fallen. They got no hit. I'm so happy that happened. And to Hoax's point from last episode, he said, if you want to talk about the Yankees in a negative way during Herbie's headline, I am for that every single episode. So we're just fulfilling Hoax's request.
I'm just saying, David, that our tagline of our show talks about how we appreciate well-played baseball. And there's a comma, especially when it's done by the Twins. And I just think this segment of all segments, David, is a chance to celebrate well-played baseball. And the Yankees are doing a lot of well-playing baseball right now. Okay, that's my point.
Just so I understand, though, does that mean I'm going to have to add a segment here that says, and especially not when it's done by the Yankees?
No, I don't think so, because I think we are mature enough, David, to recognize.
No. Anyone, Dan, we're on season 3. Nobody's going to believe a line that says, I think we're mature enough. That's going nowhere, Dan Thompson.
I'm just saying the Yankees are a very good baseball team.
So one other note about the Yankees. Those of you who have listened to the podcast for a while know that I am no Josh Donaldson fan. But one other good note about Josh Donaldson. Josh Donaldson bat flipped a ground rule double in this Astros series, which is maybe, I don't even know how to describe, I don't know what word best describes the silliness that is bat flipping a ground rule double.
Arrogance, cockiness, like Donaldson, like that is the word for it. I know there's a lot of people out there who love Donaldson. They love the energy that he brings to a baseball game and team, but come on, Josh, just run to second base.
Is run to second base, and he could walk. It's a ground rule double.
That's true, right?
Doesn't even need to run.
All right, well, let's go into Puckett's picks for this 5-game Guardian series.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Puckett's picks.
5-game Guardian series, and my goodness, Dan, I was in Boston a couple years back, and I bought a Boston Red Sox hat because I was at Fenway, kind of wanted to do it, and to be honest, I love the Boston logo with the Sox. How can you not like
I just don't understand how you can be praising Boston here and be slamming my appreciation for what the Yankees are doing here.
Okay, like, if you give me 2 seconds, I'll explain
all right,
it.
go ahead.
Give me 2 seconds. They swept the Guardians, Dan. So what I was saying is I was dusting off the old Boston hat. I was wearing it around loud and proud, Dan, that the Boston Red Sox swept the Guardians. So now the Twins go into Cleveland. They were even after the last series. Even in quotes, because Cleveland has like 80 games in hand. Because
it's the weirdest thing. How have they only played like 12 baseball games this year, but they're like close to 500, like percentage wise. Like it's such a dopey. It's a weird scheduling. Yes. I get that, but come on.
Anyway, so they're going to go 5 against Cleveland in Cleveland, but they're up by 2 games to start the series, which is just fantastic.
It's a pretty good situation. We should note, by the way, the strange thing with the Twins pitching coach situation. So Wes Johnson, the Twins pitching coach for now 4 seasons, has apparently left to be the LSU pitching coach, not the manager, but the pitching coach of a college team. That's a strange move.
It's interesting, and it does tell you a few things about maybe his frustration with the lack of bullpen signings. And I don't know why he's leaving.
I'm sure we'll find out more over the next coming days. It sounds like he's even going to actually make the trip to Cleveland, though, for this series and then leave. Like it's a very bizarre situation to continue.
He has a connecting flight anyway. So
he must just stop in Cleveland, I guess. Yes.
Okay, well, with that here, Hogs is picking for the listeners because Dan will be out the next 2 episodes, actually. So Hogs is taking Buxton. I will get the first pick as Dan won this last series. I am, of course, going to take my boy Correa because anytime that Correa is available, Dan, I'm taking Carlos Correa.
You have taken Carlos Correa so many times in this. I don't know.
Kirilloff, come on.
For variety's sake here, I'm going to pick Alex Kirilloff because, yes, Arise has been great. I just don't know that 8, 9, 10 points is going to be quite enough to win in this. So I'm hoping for Kirilloff to get his first home run, maybe 2, maybe 3 here in this Guardians series.
Okay, well with that then, why don't you send us out because they're going to be without you for a little bit. It's going to be me and Hogs.
They are. Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on Twitter at Min for the Win. You can find our Min for the Win Facebook page. You can find us on YouTube as well. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast in any of those places so you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating, that would be great. Thanks for listening. And as always, go Twins.
That'll wrap up another episode of Min for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, 2 avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins.